How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is a most anticipated list of 2025. Now, normally I like to get this list out by the first or second, but couldn't do it this year. So getting it out now. Either way, most of the movies that are on my list aren't coming out in January anyway, so we're safe. I'm going to list a bunch of them. We'll list the top 10 most anticipated. This was not an easy list to make, man. And to be honest, as I was going through it, as I was going through my list in general, I'm like, okay, I think I definitely know that's going to be on there, that's going to be on there, and that's going to be on there. And then it didn't even wind up making it in there. And the way I looked at it was, for me, what am I really excited about to check out to say, okay, that's a movie that I know that even if I wasn't doing this, if I didn't have my channel, I got to be in the movie theater to go see that. I have to go check it out. That's a movie that interests me. That they said, okay, you get 10 movies. So those are the only 10 that you can watch in the theater. And I gave myself this scenario to where I didn't say never. I just said in the theater. And these are the ones that I came up with. And I'm going to go over the honorable mentions because there's a lot in there that I want to see. And if I did a 20, they'd all be in there. Or a lot of them would be in there. So some of the ones that are anticipated for me that didn't make the list on the honorable mention, Happy Gilmore 2. Obviously, that's not a theater movie, hence why I made the honorable mention list. I'm excited for it. I want to see what happens. Adam Sandler returns as Happy Gilmore. Is it going to be any good? I don't care. I always want to see it. I'm hoping it's going to be good. My fingers are crossed for it. I have a movie that I want to take my daughter to, and that's Zootopia 2. I took my oldest to see the first one back when it came out. Really enjoyed it. We watched it a lot of times in the house, and now the little one will be able to see the second one in the theater. So I'm excited for Zootopia 2. I really thought it was a cute film. Wicked 2. I come around on Wicked, man. Not that I came around, but I always thought it was I thought it was a good movie when I saw it. But it's been playing in my house so much that I think it's another one because this is one I know that I can take my oldest to go see. She's going to be really excited for it. So I would say Wicked 2. Running Man, I'm very curious about. I want to see how this is going to play with Glenn Powell taking this role that Arnold made famous. So we'll see how that one turns out. That's sometime during the year. I'm interested more than anything else on that one. Predator Badlands is another one. I really liked what they did with Prey. I want to see where Trachtenberg goes with the next one. Where is it going to take place in general? I know Elle Fanning's in this one, but that's really all I know about it. And it's a Predator movie, and I think that he really understands the basic vibe. I hope they don't try to go too big with it because I think that's why Prey worked, because it stayed small. The next one on the honorable mentions is Black Phone 2. Thought that first one was a big surprise. Thought it was creepy. I don't know how they're going to do it again. I don't know if the novelty is worn off, but the first one had enough goodwill that I'm interested to see a second one. 28 years later, the only reason that this one didn't make my top 10 list is because as I was talking to Matt Serra about this on his show, I don't remember the other two well enough. I know that I liked them, and I know that I thought they were really creepy and they worked really well, but I don't have much of a memory or too many memories about them, and I have to probably revisit it again. This is one of those movies that probably could jump right back on my list after seeing the original two. I'm probably going to wind up doing a reaction to them because I haven't seen them in so long. I don't even know if I've seen the second one, to be honest, but that's why I'm very curious of it. I definitely want to see it in the theater, but it's why it didn't hit the top 10. There's a movie called Caught Stealing, which is the Darren Aronofsky movie. This is Austin Butler, and truth be told, this movie was on my list as of 10 minutes ago. And then there was another movie in there that I said, I got to put that movie on my list. I can't leave that one out. I got to put that one in there. So this one just fell off the list. But Caught Stealing with Darren Aronofsky's movie with Austin Butler, so a baseball player that gets caught up in this crime world. I love what Aronofsky does. I really like what Austin Butler's been doing. So this is one that I'm very interested in. But it just missed the list. I mean, it just missed the list. Thunderbolts. I know some people are, wow, Thunderbolts isn't on your most anticipated. The trailer was really good, but I think before the trailer, it wasn't one of those ones that I was going to race out to see in the theater. I was like, oh my God, I got to see this one. This is going to be so incredible. The trailer looks good. It looks like the Suicide Squad for Marvel, and I like this crew that's been put together. I really like the trailer a lot. I'm pretty excited for it, but not enough to make it on the top 10. And that also follows Captain America, the new Captain America movie. Same thing, just because the buzz around this one just hasn't been strong enough. Still interested in it. Want to see how Harrison Ford shows up as Thunderbolt Ross in this one, and how Anthony Mackie takes the mantle. But it did not taken the list in the top 10 anyway. Accountant 2 is one of those movies I'm very excited about. One of those movies I never thought we'd ever see a sequel to, but hey, sign me up. Interested to see what Ben Affleck can do again as the accountant in The Accountant 2. Mickey 17 was very close in getting on my list. It's been moved around 70 different times. It's probably been on a few different years' most anticipated list because it's been moved around that many times. But that's my list. That's my my honorable mention list. That's what I got right there. There's a lot of them in there those are all movies that I very much want to see. They just didn't hit that particular, didn't hit the top 10. So with that being said, we're going to get to the top 10 in just a moment here. I wanted to thank you guys. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Really appreciate you being here. So without any further ado, let's get to the top 10. All right, so number 10 is F1. That's right. This is Brad Pitt in the Joseph Kosinski race car movie. It also has Kerry Condon and Javier Bardem. Now, for me, I don't know what it is, man. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I don't know if I've ever watched a race on television ever. But I love race car movies. Days of Thunder, Ford versus Ferrari. There's so many movies that I've done. What's the other one with Chris Hemsworth? Was it Rush? Every race car movie. Even the one that they did, Gran Turismo, recently. I love race car movies. I know there's some people who don't like baseball and don't like boxing, and they love baseball and boxing movies. That's where I am when it comes to race car movies. I love race car movies. I'm more energized watching race car movies than most sports movies. Brad Pitt in the driver's seat, if you will, in this movie, Joseph Kosinski coming off of Top Gun Maverick. It's got the makings of movies that I enjoy watching, ones that I'm excited about, that I think that I'm going to leave the theater going, that's one that I was hoping was going to be good, and boy, did it deliver. I can't remember the last race car movie that I didn't like. I mean, hell, even Ricky Bobby. There's so many race car movies that I enjoy, so this one hits my list at number 10. Number 9, Ballerina. Now, Ballerina was not going to be on my list. It was not going to be on my list. It probably wouldn't have been on my list, even though I'm a big fan of Ana de Armas. I think that I love the John Wick world so much. It would seem like a no-brainer. And the fact that you even got in the trailer, you got John Wick coming back. It takes place in between the third and the fourth John Wick movie. There's all these different things that Ian McShane's back. So I'm like, why wouldn't it be on your top 10? The answer to me at one point was Len Wiseman. I'm not a big Len Wiseman fan. He directed the movie. Directed the movie, and he's directed a lot of other movies. Directed one of the Die Hard movies, and I'm just not a fan of his style. I don't like his storytelling. I've just never really dug a lot of his movies. But then the big rumor was that Chad Stahelski, the director of all the John Wick movies, didn't like what was happening, and kind of took over and directed the majority of the movie in the way that Tony Gilroy did. Now, the same type of thing's probably going to happen. It's probably like, no. Len did everything. It was Len's movie. I just lent my voice here and there, yada, 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 right? There's just so many times that you can hear a rumor and you're like, oh, wait a minute. There's so many different reports from pretty reputable sources that are saying that this is what happened. And because of that, it hit my list. And I'm like, okay, I feel like they want to keep this world that they built intact in the way that they had it. So I'm very excited to see it. And that's why it comes in at number 9 on my list. And as I mentioned, the first reason, I think that Ana de Armas can absolutely pull this off. From the trailer already, I believe that she fits in this world. I want to see the interaction between her and John Wick. Maybe it's another spinoff series that we know that there's rumors that there's going to be another John Wick movie. Who knows? But if this one's good enough, maybe we'll see a second Ballerina movie. So I like the idea of it. I am excited to see it. I wonder where they're going to go, if they're going to stay a little bit more towards the John Wick 1 version of it and lead to kind of the video game feel that John Wick 4 had, or if they're going to go straight into that tone. We'll find out once Ballerina comes out. All right, number 8, Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. This is a franchise that I've just been locked into since, 96, when the first one came out. Now, I thought the franchise was dead. franchise. I thought the series was going to be dead after the John Woo movie. I was like, what is that? I've since watched it. It's not as bad as when I remember seeing it in the theater, but I remember seeing the theater going, oh, that was a disappointment because it wasn't clever, right? It was just an action movie. The third movie turned it all around, and then it just kept getting better and better and better. Now, the last movie, if you saw my out of the theater reaction for it, I thought that it was, again, a really good movie, but not as I think, clever, again, I want to say, but not as actiony as the second movie. There's tons of action in this movie, but it wasn't all that it was. There was a lot to it. I just felt there was more of the kind of gadgets and putting the pieces together in other movies. But then I rewatched it and I liked it a lot better the second time I saw it. And I have to see how this ends up with Ethan Hunt and the rest of the crew and how they're going to finalize this series. It's supposed to be the last one that Tom Cruise is going to do. So I want to see how it all ends. I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited to see how it does in the box office and people want to say goodbye to this thing overall. So I'm pumped to see it. Tom Cruise has done wonders inside of this franchise, the stuff that he does. I hope he doesn't hurt himself or didn't hurt himself doing some of these stunts. You're going to get the stunts. I wonder what they're going to do as far as the gadgets and how they're going to play out this submarine thing and the rest of it. So that's why it comes in at number 8 for me. All right, number 7 is the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is a movie that has, or a franchise, I should say, that has not worked in the past. The Tim Story version, some people dig them, but they're pretty campy, they're pretty corny. You get some good performances by maybe Chris Evans and a few others, but it's just it was such a camp cheese fest that nobody really talks about those movies in general, right? And then you had that kind of abomination that they did at Fox that all fell apart, and it was just a mess on set, and everything that they tried to do with that one, they just couldn't get it right. So Kevin Feige was trying so hard to get the Fantastic Four back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or into it rather, and he did. And so they once they acquired Fox, that was one of the first ones out the gate, and what a cast that they have. Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Eben Moss-Bachrach, and of course Joseph Quinn as the Fantastic Four. You're going to find in a post-credit or maybe even a couple of scenes, Downey shows up as Dr. Doom for the first time, so it's going to set up our main villain leading into the Avengers. So there's a lot riding on it, because even if Captain America and Thunderbolts don't play, it's not as crucial as Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is where they're like really kind of the top heroes right now. The idea that it's taking place in the 60s and there's these different, they're in a different universe, and how that's going to play into the universe that we already know, and how that's going to lead into the Avengers. There's a lot riding on this thing. And of course, as I said, introducing our new villain, Victor Von Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr. So that's pretty exciting all in itself. I want to see how they're going to make it work, because I think that this is as important for Marvel as other movies are for other franchises, because I don't want to ruin anything else on my list. But this is a very important movie for them, because this is a movie that, as I said, Captain America can fail, and if it does, you go, oh man, Marvel's in a rough spot. But I'll go see the next one, see how it does. Thunderbolts can fail. Nobody knew who they were. I wish it would have been better. Marvel's in a tough spot, but I want to see Fantastic Four. If Fantastic Four misses and it's not good, you're going to go, why the hell do I want to see them like lead into this Avengers thing and that story that they're leading into? Why do I care? But if it's great, then you're going to get back on board and you're really going to care. So I think that we are in a good spot with this. I like that what they've been putting out so far. So that is why Fantastic Four comes in at number 7. Number 6 for me, and my most anticipated, is The Battle of Baktan Cross, Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie. And this is Leonardo DiCaprio. The synopsis is it's a movie about an ex-hippie on the run from the law and an FBI agent trying to track him down. Kind of sounds a little bit like Catch Me If You Can. The movie is written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, and it's coming out in August. Paul Thomas Anderson, Sean Penn, and Leonardo DiCaprio. Sign me up. And the fact I'm assuming that the ex-hippie, I don't know. I don't necessarily know. I would assume the ex-hippie is Leonardo DiCaprio. It would be interesting if he was the FBI agent and you get like a Spicoli version of Sean Penn, but it's probably the other way around. And it does sound a little bit like Catch Me If You Can. But those three stars, Paul Thomas Anderson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, and that premise has me going, yeah, I got to see this one in the theater. Sign me up. I feel like I'm watching something from the early 2000s, and that's why, to me, when a Paul Thomas Anderson movie hits, you're just talking about it for the next 2 or 3 years. Sometimes he has them, then you're just like, that one was a little disappointing. But the guy's a brilliant filmmaker, working with this kind of talent, and I like that I don't know too much about it. I'm sure that there's people who know more about it than I do and know exactly who each person's playing, but I don't. And I don't need to know anything more than that except those three names. That's enough to sign me up, and that's very rare. I talk about it on my show all the time, where it's like it's very rare that you can get names that without knowing what the premise of the movie is to get you in there. And so directors, I mentioned that there are certain directors that can get you into the theater. I think Paul Thomas Anderson is one of those directors. Leonardo DiCaprio is an actor that you go, okay, you've got a Paul Thomas Anderson movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn. That's all I need. Sign me up. I'm in. And that's why that comes in so high for me at number 6. All right, number 5, and I'm talking about directors. Again, this year we're already getting into the Oscars and the nominations. They just had the Golden Globes. Critics' Choice Awards are happening. Well, you keep hearing the name of Luca Guadagnino, and that is because he just did Challengers. He's done a lot of different movies. He really kind of made his name, or when I first heard about him anyway, with Call Me By Your Name. He's a brilliant filmmaker, really dives into relationships, human emotions in general, and how just real people, I feel, when he makes these movies. Well, he's got a new movie coming out, and it's called After the Hunt, and what a cast it is. It stars Julia Roberts. No, it's not the only reason it's on my list. It has Ayo Edebiri from The Bear, Andrew Garfield, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Chloe Sevigny. So this is a hell of a cast. And so if you want the breakdown of what the movie is, it's a college professor is forced to grapple with her own secretive past after one of her colleagues is faced with a serious accusation. I'm assuming that Julia Roberts is that professor. To watch her with Luca, that in itself is very intriguing. I'm curious of what kind of role Andrew Garfield is going to play here. To see this entire cast, this is something that I'm assuming, depending on when it comes out, is going to be one of those movies that, if it plays out the right way, is another one that you're going to hear about during award season. It's the cast that gets me. It is the director that gets me. It's the premise that gets me. I love seeing movies like this. Yeah, hell yeah, it's fun to watch the big budget popcorn movies, but it's movies, it's like thrillers that you can find with really good collaborators on it that get me excited. So that's why that one ranks so high, especially because right now Luke is kind of like one of those people like, well, what's he going to do next? And he's popping out movies like it seems like every year at this point. He's got one, again, the end, I would assume at the end of the year. There's no set date for this one just yet. I know that they had just finished filming, whatever it might be. I feel like you're going to hear about this one. If it delivers in the way that I think it would, it's probably going to be an award season movie. We shall see. So that is number 5, After the Hunt. Number 4, I'm going right back into another reason that I want to see this because of the director, and that's Ryan Coogler, and that's Sinners. I dig a good vampire movie. Sure, why not? Is it one of the ones that I'm going to go, oh, vampires, I got to go see it. If you got a vampire in it, it's going to be on my list. Hey, Nosferatu was on my list as far as the top 10 of the year. I think it ranked at number 3. Was that because it was a vampire movie? No, it was because of what Robert Eggers did with it. It's the storytellers, man. You get a good storyteller telling a story, making a film that looks intriguing, and that is where you get me. And that's what Sinners looks like. You got him, Michael B. Jordan, collaborating once again with Ryan Coogler, and this time I think he plays twins. And just shit goes down in this small town, or whatever it is, and they don't, in the trailer so far, and the next one they're probably going to, because the studio's probably going to make them do it, but in the trailer so far, you don't even see any of the vampires. And I hope that they keep that the whole time. I hope that Ryan Coogler fights for that and doesn't show the vampires or show anything what it looks like, because we're already intrigued by it. It's an intriguing story so far that looks darker. It looks like something different than what Ryan Coogler usually does, right? As far as the thriller or horror genre. His first movie was Fruitvale Station. That was a true story drama. You had Creed, a sports drama, and then, of course, the last two Black Panther movies. So I like that he is moving over and doing something else outside of the comic book genre. It's something that sometimes I think when directors get too comfortable, whether it's with money or the fact that it just takes so much time that they stay there. I mean, look at Matthew Vaughn, who's just stayed with the Kingsman world. I wish he would get the hell out of there. And for people going, well, he just did Argyle, also connected to the Kingsman. Clearly, you didn't stick around for the whole thing. But this is Ryan Coogler doing something else. I love that he's doing this horror. I love that he's also doing something again with Michael B. Jordan. You got a good luck thing going with each other, then make it continue. And I loved what they're doing so far together. I love their collaborations. So this is a highly anticipated movie for me at number 4. At number 3, I'm going with another drama, and I'm going with A24, The Smashing Machine. That's right. This is Dwayne Johnson starring as Mark Kerr. Emily Blunt is in the film. It is directed by Benny Safdie, and it is the story of Mark Kerr. And this is a big movie for Dwayne Johnson, because the majority of movies that we've seen from The Rock, whether you've liked them or not, I don't think there's going to be a lot of argument that the majority of the time he's playing a version of himself. He's playing Dwayne Johnson, the kind of charming, quick-talking, witty dude that can kick your ass, right? Well, he's playing another guy who can kick your ass, but he's going to be tested here dramatically. The acting chops are going to be tested, because this is a story of a guy that was addicted to drugs, and he had a really rough life, and there's a lot of pain involved in what he's doing. I will say that it's probably his best acting performance is probably, whether it was Snitch or Pain and Gain and something along those lines, but I think that this is where he's going to be tested the most, and it's an A24 film. He's got to bounce back and forth off of a phenomenal actress in Emily Blunt. They've worked together, obviously, on Jungle Cruise, and I think that he probably wanted to bring her on board with this because he worked with her well. And there are not a lot of MMA. I can't remember. There's a handful of MMA movies in general, right? I mean, I love Warrior, not a true story. I don't know how many true stories are. I think that they did, and mainstream, I don't know how many they've done. I know that they've done a couple, but nothing that I can really bring to memory of like classic UFC. Like, I think there's so many different fighters that they could do. They could do the Frank Mir story. They could do Liddell. They could do George St. Pierre. They should do Matt Serra. I've always said they should do Matt Serra. There's a lot of different people that they could do, but this is like the early stages of the UFC, and to see what he's going to do here, that's why I'm pretty excited for it. So coming in at number 3 is The Smashing Machine. So did a couple smaller movies for the majority of this list. I am going to go with 2 big ones for my number 2 and my number 1. For number 2, going with Avatar 3. I know, I can hear the comments already. It says it happens every single time when I talk about these movies. Every time. Oh, nobody wants to see those movies. They're overrated. And yet then they go and do 1.6, 1.7, $2 billion in the box office, and everybody's going to see it. They're event films. And they transport me into another planet, and in a way that I have never experienced in both times I've seen both Avatar 1 and Avatar 2 in the theater. It's just, there are no other experiences I've ever had that I feel like I'm on that planet. The music, the emotion, everything about what James Cameron does in these movies are just so special. And the fact that he's just creating this entire new IP through this technology. The first one was, on the land, and it said everything. That was Dances with Wolves. It was something you'd see already too. I didn't mind it. Some people had a problem with it. The second one I thought was definitely more original, and what they did with the water technology and everything else, and how that they set that up. I just love these movies. I love them. I love the score. I know that the late, great James Horner, who did the first one, his music was kind of carried over into the second one, and I believe that they'll do that kind of carrying on. But there's just something about these. These are movies that I have to see in the theater. And I think that people who haven't seen it in the theater will definitely like it a lot less. These are movies. There are certain movies that are made for the theater, and there are other ones that you can say, well, you don't need to see it in the theater. There's a few on my list, actually, that I just mentioned, that if people didn't want to see them in theater, I'd be like, yeah, you probably could still enjoy it in the same way. This is a movie that is meant for the theaters. It just is. And I just love the world of Pandora. I love the colors. I love the characters. I'm so intrigued to see where we're going to go from where we left off from the second one. They set up some tension, and I'll be revisiting the second one, but I'm so pumped for the third movie. I really am. And I think it's going to do the same thing it did last time. It's going to smash all these records. It's going to break box office records like it's done the last two times. People love seeing these movies in the theater, and it's the best use of 3D that I think I've ever seen. So it leaves number one, which I don't think is going to be a surprise to anyone, of what my number one movie of the year is. And that, of course, is Superman. Yep, Superman. I've been Superman's my favorite superhero since I was a little kid. The Christopher Reeve movies just completely shaped my movie-going experience. I loved everything about what he brought to the character. I understood who Superman was from everything that Richard Donner brought to that movie. I was on board with it, and I was always looking for another superhero to make me feel the way that Superman did. And there's been tons of great comic book movies. There's been tons of them. And I really love Man of Steel. I really love that movie. More so than others, I think, too. But I wanted to see kind of the old school Superman come back. I didn't love Superman Returns. I thought Brandon Routh was fine. But I wanted to see what they were going to do. So when James Gunn announced his DCU and the return of Superman and the fact that he was directing it and he was going to bring it back, definitely concerned as far as I think James Gunn can be funny, but I'm like, I don't want to see Superman cracking jokes mid-flight. I loved a lot of the other things that James Gunn has done, but is it going to overpower it? And then I saw the trailer and I heard the music and the fact that they are paying homage to John Williams' score and the way that they're playing it and the cast that they put together. I mentioned earlier, this cast that they put together, man, like when we were just hearing about the rumors of who they were going to put, like, oh my God, if they get that person, I think Nicholas Hoult is going to steal the show as Lex Luthor. I think it was a brilliant casting choice. Rachel Brosnahan from Maisel, and then this kid, David Cornsweet, who already people have been raving about and talking about how he just embodies the essence of Superman. So this is a massive movie for James Gunn's DCU. The hype around it already is pretty phenomenal. That the trailer itself was something revisited many times over. People were discussing it. Is it going to deliver? That is going to be the question when it comes out in July. So that's my top 10 list of for 2025. I am curious what yours is. Please put your comments in there. Tell me what you think. Have you heard all the movies that I'm talking about, or any of the ones that I brought up? Are those ones that are on your list also? Please let me know. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today. Appreciate it. And we will see you very soon. I spoke a lot about comic book movies. What I'm going to be doing, what I have been doing, my friend Sam, who I've known since the first grade, she had never seen an MCU movie ever. So we're doing a first-time watch of the entire MCU. We just on the channel put on Iron Man 3. Tomorrow is Thor Dark World, and then we have Winter Soldier coming on right after that. So we're doing a full-on rewatch. The goal is to try to get her caught up by Captain America, the new one. I don't think that'll happen. It'll probably be closer to Thunderbolts. But nonetheless, please go and check that out. We have Out of the Theater reactions and a lot of other things here too. Live show every day, Monday through Friday. So thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it. See you later.